Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Can anybody confirm that you can hear me? Can you hear me? Suresh Raju. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Suresh Raju. Yesterday we were talking about Prabhu Sri Ram through his eyes, the concept of dharma and nyaya. Prabhu Sri Ram is an embodiment of dharma, of which nyaya is a small stream of thought, small stream of thought. Here, Prabhu Sri Ram is a magnanimous personality, a huge chapter in itself. And these are the attempts to understand little bit of Prabhu Sri Ram. On these grounds, let's go to the second talk, that is 10 reasons to declare Ramayana is a myth. Why Ramayana is a myth? We'll find out. What is the logic behind declaring Ramayana as a myth? We'll find out. Probably, let me go with the disclaimer, probably 200 years ago. In our movies, we go back 50 years, 10 years, 20 years. So now we are going back 200 years. 200 years, that is 1824. It need not be specific, so specific, I understand. But approximately 200 years ago, there was a meeting in India, of course, probably in Kolkata or Delhi, where the British officers who were very much within the country in a very high position, an important position, they were. And they had one agenda, one topic of discussion, which our own people have started in the nearby states, our neighboring states. That the agenda of the discussion could be dismantle Hindutva. Dismantle Hindutva. Why they are talking about it is because after they came and established and were busy preparing their plan for the next 100 years, 200 years, or 500 years, whatever, 100, 200, 500 years, when they were busy planning their plan of action, that point of time, somebody, of course, who was definitely an Indian or a person who had studied India, raised a apostrophe, raised a voice which said, "No, you will be unsuccessful in this attempt." These people, that is the Britishers, who were very confident of having taken complete control of the country, wondered, how is it that you are telling that we will not be successful? So the response was like this. In 1000 AD, in between 1000 and 1026 AD, There was one person who came 17 times to plunder India, and we all know that he is Mr. Muhammad Ghazni. And this person came 17 times, made an attempt, and could not take control of India for all the 16 times. And finally, he, by cheating, he won over the then king and took him as a captive. So, in this context, what started as plundering India and capturing India, taking control of India, went on for went on for 800 years. 800 years. Dynasties after dynasties, kings after kings, emperors after emperors, rulers after rulers, one after the other, kept on capturing India, made attempts to capture India. They came here, they stayed here, and kept on doing it, but they could not. They did not succeed. 800 years they tried continuously and they did not succeed. And we people, will we be able to successful? Will we be able to to become successful? Is what was the question there. So they understood what all mistakes the Mughals could have done. The Mughals, Dutch, Portuguese, whoever were there, yeah, could have done, and they started analyzing those issues, and they wanted to come up with a different formula, a new formula, a strong formula, a super short formula to capture, to take control of this nation called India, which they themselves named as India. And finally, they realized they realized that there is some element in this country called dharma, and this dharma is protecting them, since ages. So, what is that dharma? Which is that dharma? That is Hindu dharma. So, they want to dismantle Hindu dharma. They wanted to dismantle Hindu dharma, and they started a project called Dismantle Hindutva. I may be wrong in my choice of words. I may be wrong in my way of pointing it out. But then started this concept, Dismantle Hindutva, is existing even today. The vested interests across the world are working very hard to accomplish the connected interests within the country. The people who are connected to that ideology, to those ideologies, are trying from within. If not connected, influenced. The people who are influenced by these ideologies are busy working on this. And that's the reason we have this seminars, workshops, conferences, official conferences, government conferences on this, under this name, that is Dismantle Hindutva. Our own people funding for this kind of conferences is all happening because of this. Anyway, coming back to that point, where the British officers, the supersonic scientific minds of the British people are sitting and studying to dismantle Hindutva. So when they were doing it, they realized that there is something called as Hindu dharma, and this dharma has to be dismantled, and uh, the base, the foundation of this dharma are two epics. That is, one is Ramayana, and there is Mahabharata. So, first of all, Ramayana came. Even in my mouth, the Ramayana came. So they took up Ramayana. Okay. So they had to study Ramayana. And they started asking people. They brought in a conglomerate of pandits, well-read pandits who could speak in English, probably who could speak in English. Of course, they could not have known, but translators, using translators, all those things, they tried something and they got full information about Ramayana. While they were getting full information about Ramayana, they had deputed one particular official, one particular official to make notes of what all they are telling, what all the story was narrated. And that official, who was once again one of the best brains under that particular rule, jotted down 10 points. 10 points. What are they? Let me read out. The first one: a young man who was supposed to be crowned as a king the next day leaves to forest for 14 years just because his father wanted him to do so. These are the 10 points which are read out in front of the committee who sat there to understand Ramayana. Okay, I read the first one once again. A young man who was supposed to be crowned as a king the next day lives to forest for 14 years just because his father wanted him to do so. Point number 2: his wife accompanies him. Point number 2: his wife accompanies him. Point number 3: his young brother accompanies him, leaving behind his own wife. Point number 3: his young brother accompanies him, leaving behind his own wife. Fourth one: the next brother, that's the third one, the next brother who is supposed to be crowned after all this. The next brother who is supposed to be crowned after all this, instead of rejoicing, goes in search of him and begs him to return. When he refuses, his footwear is brought and kept on the throne and becomes the caretaker of the kingdom, but not the king. When a man has to live in forest for 14 years, his footwear is very important. And what could be the reason behind taking away his footwear? This part we can leave it. It's just to make on a humorous note. When a man has to when a man has to live in a forest for 14 years, his footwear is very important for him. And what could be the reason behind taking away his footwear was the point there. This can be left. But the next brother who is supposed to be crowned after all this, instead of rejoicing, goes in search of him and begs him to return. When he refuses, his footwear is brought and kept on the throne and becomes the caretaker of the kingdom, but not the king. Point number 4. Point number 5. A bird by name Jatayu tells them that Sita is kidnapped by Ravana of Sri Lanka. Point number 5. A bird by name Jatayu tells them that Sita is kidnapped by Ravana of Sri Lanka and shows the direction. In this direction he went. Point number 6. As they came to the south in search of his wife, they means the brothers Rama, Lakshmana. So these two people, when they were coming down, when they came to south, they came to a point where there was water and no road to go further. It's called as a dead end in our modern day language. As they came to south, they came to a point where there was water and no road to go further. Technically, it's called as a dead end. These people decided to build a bridge. This is point number 6. Point number 7. Hanuman is sent to negotiate. Point number 7. Hanuman is sent to negotiate. Negotiation is an advanced managerial skill, and a monkey is sent to do it. Negotiation is an advanced managerial skill which is taught in today's MBA colleges, management colleges, and a monkey is sent to do it. However, negotiations failed and he was humiliated. He immediately decides, instantly, and he conducts a surgical strike and returns. Hanuman is sent to negotiate. Negotiation is an advanced managerial skill, and a monkey is sent to do it. Negotiations failed and he was humiliated. He immediately, instantly decides to conduct a surgical strike and he returns. Point number 8. Hanuman carries a huge mountain all the way from Himalayas. And after the work, he takes back the mountain all the way to the Himalayas and place it in the exact place where it was earlier. Hanuman, point number 8, Hanuman carries a huge mountain all the way from Himalayas, and after the work, he takes back the mountain all the way to the Himalayas and places it exactly the place where it was earlier. Point number 9. The lady, the lady did not conceive. The lady did not conceive during this tenure of 14 years. The lady did not conceive during this tenure of 14 years. They could be having some health issues. This only implies that she did not conceive for the tenure of 14 years. It only implies that she could be having some health issues. Yeah, they could be having some health issues, but soon after they came back home. But soon after they came back home, she delivered twins. Point number 10, the final one, the final point. Forget the hero. Forget the hero. The villain of Ramayana, the villain of Ramayana, that is Ravana, even after keeping the lady in his fort, in his kingdom, doesn't use physical force upon her to accept him. Doesn't force the lady to accept him, doesn't use physical force to accept him. This is the 10 points. These are the 10 points which were jotted down by one particular person who was supposed to do the job after having heard the full of Ramayana, after having heard the whole of Ramayana. So this guy has made these 10 points, and these 10 points were read out to the committee, in front of the committee. Now, these people had to take a decision. Take a decision. Now, what do we do with this? How do we tell the people that this is a credible story or an incredible story? This is a story which belongs to history, or this story is only a Kante Purana, that is mythology. So, in this junction of time, they decided, they decided to debate. They debate. The majority of them had already decided that yes, this is nothing but mythology. There is no element of practicality applied here. And they produce another paper to defeat the logic behind Ramayana. These points, these 10 points. Okay, what are those 10 points? The counter points for these 10 points to say that yes, it is mythology. Let's go through once. Point number 1. Instead of going to the forest, if the protagonist had beheaded his father, Sartan se juda, yeah, instead of going to forest, if the protagonist had beheaded his father along with the people who objected for him becoming the king, along with the people who had objected for him to becoming the king, then they would have said, yes, this could have happened. The English mind, the English mind would have said, yes, this could have happened. What could have happened? Ramayana could have happened, and it could have been considered as history. Okay. Second point. Instead of joining her husband to forest, if the lady had told him to get lost and started a life of her own, then the English mind would have said, yes, this is a possibility. Point number 3. If the brother had looked at his young wife, if the brother had looked at his young wife and just stayed back, they would have said, yes, This can be considered as history. Fourth point, if the to be crowned brother, if the to be crowned brother had rejoiced and announced a party to all his friends that night, the Britishers, would have said, yes, this can be considered as history. If Rama would have come to know about Ravana through any human being, they would have said, yes, this could have happened. It can be considered as history. Point number 6. If the people, after reaching the sea, if the people, after reaching the sea, which in modern terms called as dead end, had taken a U turn, if they had taken a U turn after seeing the sea, then the modern day, the British mind would have said, yes. If a skilled MBA candidate had been employed to negotiate with Ravana, if a skilled MBA candidate had been employed to negotiate with Ramana and a team of trained commandos to conduct the surgical strike if it was necessary, yeah, and a team of trained commandos to conduct a surgical strike for which no proof was demanded, then they would have said, yes, this is a possibility of being considered as history. If Hanuman, after the usage of Sanjeevani, yes, he might have brought that huge mountain from Himalayas to this place where this war was going on. If Hanuman, after the usage of Sanjeevani, if he had dumped the mountain into the nearby sea, like any modern man would have done, today's modern man doing away with their industrial wastes, putting those waste into sea or rivers or gutters, wherever. Yeah, if they had done it, if Hanuman had done it, instead of going and keeping it back there, carrying all the way to Himalayas and keeping it back there, and then he came, no, if he had just pushed it into the sea, then they would have said, yes, this is a possibility. It would have been a possibility. Point number 9. Point number 9. If the lady had conceived, in those 14 years, if the lady had conceived few number of times during their stay in the forest and undergone abortion in our technical terms, or delivered on one hand, or if the lady did not conceive at all after returning, that means she had some problem, she had some health issues, then they would have said, yes. Little did they know about the concept called samyama. Little did they know about the concept called samyama, or whatever. A man and his wife, though they are together, there was a possibility of they controlling themselves, not indulging into the pleasures of the world, and leading the life of austerity, that too for 14 years, in a mind of a British man. Definitely it was impossible. So they decided that this can never be called as history but mythology. And the last point, if Ravana immediately after kidnapping Sita had abused her, if Ravana had molested Sita, if Ravana, going one step further, if he had raped Sita, then the British mind would have said, yes, this is a possibility. The man, the hero, the protagonist was with so much of virtues. So was the villain of our nation, of our dharma. Though he was a villain, he followed his own dharma of not abusing the woman, not using force upon the woman. He wanted her to come. He wanted her to come and join him. If not, he would give up. So this was the state of mind of those people. And understanding these things, the British could never comprehend these values which they decided They decided that it can never be history, it can never be a part of history, it should be mythology, some Kante Purana. So they declared. While they were about to sign, probably it was announced, and there were 4 to 5 great pundits of our country of those times. They were all sitting and they were tensed. They said, come on, they will be declaring it as mythology. Then one of them would have said, look, let them decide. If we don't allow now, if we object, they may kill us because they were the super masters, no? They may kill us. So instead of that, let them decide, let them go to hell. Okay? Even Ramayana being considered as mythology, our people will not let leave Rama. Let leave the ideals of Rama. Let leave the ideals of Sita, Lakshmana, Bharata. Yeah, definitely not. Because they have them in their heart, not in their brain. And they will not live here for long. It may take 5 years, it may take 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years. At least after 200 years, they will not be here. And that point of time, somebody who will become the leader of this country, who will come to that position, that person will definitely get back the status of history to Ramayana. But 75 years ago, our country became free, but we as a country did not bother to convert that status of mythology into history. And after 200 years, we are now celebrating Ayodhya, Ram coming back to Ayodhya. And this is a wonderful, this is a very special moment. And it is happening in our times. It's happening in our times, my time, your time. It's happening. After 500 years of struggle, we are seeing Ram Lalla in Ayodhya. So, this historic moment, to celebrate this historic moment, we are having this series of lectures, and it goes on. And with this, I end my talk. Is there anything that we can discuss? We are open for it. The chat box is anyway available. We'll wait for 2 minutes and then bind up. Dr. Nirmala. Jai Shri Ram. If it was in our brain, we would have had a lot of questions because it is in our heart. So probably beyond Jai Shri Ram, there would be nothing. But let's see. Let's wait for another couple of minutes and then we shall wind it up. All that I spoke is not from any history. It's only a hypothecation. Shri Mata Shri. Jai Shri Ram. It's only an hypothecation that this could have happened, but the thought process would definitely be the same. Seema Sinha, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Seema. But the thought process would have been the same. They would have thought 5 years, 10 years, 50, 100, 200, and this is 200 years now. That all this process of British is now getting rewinded. Probably we will very soon get back to our glorious form of existence. And the 20 seconds, 29 minutes, 45 seconds. So 15 seconds we'll wait. And with this, we close. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of this. It was a wonderful afternoon. Thank you. Good day.